So now, as a child, I want to get to the Elon stuff
Okay.
because that's the first video I saw of you, and you had known him as a child, and why don't you tell about that one particular experience that you made the documentary on your site about?
All right, but let me just close something.
Sure.
It was supposed to be auctioned at the Hookers Ball, and then all of a sudden it didn't happen, and I just went to the party, and the next thing I know, I'm there's an arrangement and a meeting, and May comes and talks to me at a table with some other very important people. Now, it was arranged. I go be with her, but yet she asked my permission. So she was made out to be my hero because all of a sudden now I'm not getting auctioned off to a creepy guy going to cut me up. Now I'm going to a nice white lady with a cute house. Get it? Now, you know what I mean? I felt
So you actually went to her house then?
Yes.
Okay.
But I didn't live with her. I didn't live with her.
She was a neighbor?
It's weird. They said everything was staged because I look back now and go, that doesn't make any sense. So my aunt, one of my real blood aunties, lost her butt in Europe. They went and blew all their money in Europe for a couple years and came back broke. Everybody was mad at them because they blew a lot of money. And all of a sudden she's friends with May Musk and gets a new house, a cute little house right across the street. Well, May didn't live there yet. To me, the thing is that they owned that. They built that street in 1940. Of course, this was all planned before I was born. So I looked at some of the records, the city records. Okay, I get sent over to my auntie's, a meeting with May Musk. Somebody says, will you watch our kids? Well, will you watch my friend's kid while we go on a prison visit? And I go, oh, your kids? Because there was this lady, Imelda. I go, oh, your kids? Because I thought I was going to watch everybody's kids together, a big pile, because sometimes people dumped all the children on me at one time. And that's how I ended up being a nanny. I play guitar and love them. So she said, no, this kid's special. He's coming from Africa. I thought he was going to be a little black retarded kid, excuse me, but I was like, okay, a special little kid from Africa.
Well, and this is in that time, those are, yes.
Sorry, that's the language. We were so politically incorrect.
Look, I grew up in Compton in the early 70s, so I can relate.
So they asked me if I will, and then May comes, and it was a big deal. Living with a coked out mother, my hygiene wasn't great, and I had Hooker's hand-me-downs, okay? Even though we were rich as could be, you know what I mean? I was not cared for. I was hungry. It may have been a Playboy mansion, but there wasn't a door on the bathroom. So, who wants to go in there and take a shower? You know what I mean? So all of a sudden I was in a cute little place, and my aunt cleaned me up and got me some pretty clothes that weren't Hooker hand-me-downs, Fredericks of Hollywood. Now it's normal, but it wasn't normal then to look like that. And and May met with me at the table. She said, and that's the first time I met Elon. And I'd like to tell you something that happened that day. I've never told anybody, okay? The first time I met Elon. So May and we met at the table, and she asked my permission, which I always think is part of them getting me in bondage, because I agreed. Even though I was a child, even though I was procured, I agreed.
And they always ask permission.
Do they? She always did. And nobody in my life ever did. So that's different. I remember that coming to him. So the first time I met him, and then they sent me off to hang out with him. And he was in my aunt's house. So my aunt loses her butt. All of a sudden she gets this cute little house on Penny Lane. Napa's pretty prestigious little place. And then I go off with the little boy and the women, and I call them, I can't tell you what I call them. Actually, there's a cuss word in it. But I go off with the little boy, and we're playing, and he's skipping around like little guys do. He was tiny as a 2-year-old, tiny. He's skipping around doing little skips like when a deer's born, little kids skip and do little things. And he came over to the window, and he was looking at something out the window, and the sun was coming in the window. And I got down on my hands and knees, and he was trying to say something to me. I was like, what do you see, honey? What do you, I thought it was a bug or in the window or something, a bug, or he's pointing. And I got right down there with him. His eyes were black. His eyes were black. Black. And I was like, that's not normal. Like for a minute, they turned black. And I remember that fear in your soul and bones. So I remember that, and I've never told anybody that happened.
Wow.
Then
And it's funny, we've been seeing, the acting pedotus with black eyes and stuff like that, like the pupils looking black. People are starting to catch on to these things. The eyes are the windows to the soul.
And they weren't always black, but they were black when they should have not been black. The sun was coming in the window.
Mm-hmm.
That was my first clue. So now I did, I asked Jesus in my heart when I was 5 years old once. A babysitter led me in a little prayer. But, but I didn't even know the word blasphemy, but I could feel something going on sometimes with them. Like I was already afraid. My aunt told me, don't piss them off, please them, do anything they say.
You just said something really interesting, which brings a whole new light, and I use that word advisedly, to this story. You said these little prayers, and they might not have meant much to you at that time, but you actually said prayers to God beforehand. So it sounds to me like his hand of protection has been on you, although you were exposed to a lot of stuff. Look, you didn't get auctioned off, you didn't get that, you started to get better clothes, and things started happening. And so, okay, let's go back to where you were. I just wanted to make that comment that it sounds like the hand of protection was upon you.
It was. God was, huh? He always had me. And, if I would have known it was going to be okay. I mean, he told us it was going to be okay. He told us, fear not. Like Tiffany told me 365 times or something. Why didn't I believe him? Because I was so afraid my whole life. And now telling the truth, excuse me, but I have a little less fear. I feel better than I've ever felt on that fear level. It's almost gone. When I should be panicking, like worried about a drone hitting me in the brain any minute. Jesus, the faith and the fear level have flipped.
All right. And so just whenever a new name comes up, I need to clarify it for the audience. So when you're referring to Tiff, you're referring to Tiff who works with the show.
Okay, your moderator.
Well, she's more than that, actually, but she's very important to the show.
She's precious. She is so precious.
Yes. Yeah, she is a gift. There's no doubt.
Okay, so first red flag, his eyes are black. Now, years in the future, I did psychedelics and I saw my eyes do that in the mirror. Your eyes get big when you do mushrooms, black like that. Not exactly like that, but like that. And I remembering that little boy and thinking, was he on mushrooms? No. And then seeing people petition to get microdosing legal. But, because I've known shaman who told me that they microdosed, or that the grandma shaman microdosed the children as they were leaving in the Indian school tribe in the morning, give a little spoon to everybody out the door. Like, man, really? So I thought, did they do that? Was whatever, whether the mother did it or the child just had black eyes. But I've wondered about it. I don't know, but I know they were black. And that's not
so I've never seen an indication of drugs making that happen.
Not like that.
No, that's demonic. Would be my opinion.
Yeah. So, okay, that was the first red flag. Let's see. So she asked me, now this is a trip too, the permission thing. So then May, who called herself Light, and I've never called her May to her face. Never.
Just
I never
Light.
called her Light, only Light. And like, I wouldn't live to see the next day if I ever did that. Like, do not, under penalty, do not ever say her real name. And I wasn't supposed to know her real name because she was in the Helter Skelter book. My aunt had a copy, and there were plenty of copies at thrift stores for 10, 20 years, and now they're not there.
So
And-
she was actually mentioned. She was the May in Charles Manson's book.
Yes, but you can't find that book. It's been reprint. There's reprints that say first edition, but they're not the one I saw for the first 10 years.
Okay.
So there's reprints, and they don't say second edition. They say first edition, but there's a picture of May missing. So, okay, I was so she asked me if I would babysit, and we just called it babysitting. And this was all done under, the language has changed. Like I look back now, they use the word slaves. They use the word, don't. They use the word slaves, but for this, the language must be babysitting. I am the babysitter, so I never use that language on myself. Okay. She asked me if I would babysit while she went to see Charlie Manson. I always thought that was strange that she would tell me that right out. Why would she tell me who she was going to see? We all knew who Charlie Manson was. I always thought that was weird that she disclosed that. You know what? But that was part of sabotaging me, because if I ever shared what I was doing, people cut me off right now and went, "Oh, you're a Manson. Oh," and they got the heck away from me. Because because there's something wrong sometimes. I get it. I'm socially awkward. But once I said Manson, I was cut off. Church people disrespect me. If I shared I was trying to leave that, nobody, that they just kept it at Hooker's daughter and a Manson.
So the social safety network that's supposed to exist was never there for you.
No. It was there for them to do what they wanted.
And just to be clear, when you were asked to babysit, it was because you were essentially a slave.
Yes, thank you. Yes, and those are the words everybody else used, but not me. And so, but I want to share those words that they have.
No, that's very important, because you were a slave to the system at this point.
Yes. So I was at my aunt's and happy to be there. Again, May Musk is my hero. And I'm watching this little boy, and I'm told things like he's the chosen one, whatever that means. And so I was babysitting him, and May was going to, I don't know, I watched him a few different times. She didn't do like a bunch of things at once. She'd do one thing at a time. She would go take van loads of televisions to the prisons. Oh no, the battery is low. See, she would take van loads of televisions to the prisons. And I said, "Why is she doing that?" And they said, "She's creating prisoner armies," which is not something I could ever fit in a sentence in my life. And I said, "Why is she doing that?" And they said, "She's buying future chaos, creating prisoner armies." And
that seems to be playing out right now.
Right. And the lady
in California.
And the lady that's telling me all this, she is the grandmother of the Santeria, and she's the mother of the prisoner armies. And so now we're what, 3-4 generations? We're a few generations into those prisoners. They're having babies on the system. They're having they got the shot callers in the prison. They go out, they run the drugs, they run the hits. So this is May Musk. Can you see May Musk going to San Quentin, having a conjugal visit? Because I thought they were involved because I was a little kid. I didn't see the B system. I just thought, oh, she's his girl, right? Because I was a kid. I didn't know. But now I realize. So I saw a Rogan show where he talked about the Charlie Manson CIA connection. And now I realize there's documentation. So this is panning out.
Let's go back to that time when you were babysitting him and tell me what happened there.
Okay, I got to get a battery. I was babysitting him, and May had a lot of ancient artifacts and stuff. He didn't have any normal toys, and he got into his mother's trunk. I always called it her African trunk because she told me she's from Africa. And there was these little rock statues in there, like little, action figures. And he would set him up in a certain way, like a little Stonehenge on his bed, and his room was dark. It's always dark in there. And even though his room faced the street, it was like blackout curtain on that side. Like, so he couldn't see out, and I was the house almost across the street. And he set him up in a certain way. And you know when a little kid's sneaking and you still see that they're sneaking and they're trying to be sneaky and you think it's cute. You know what I mean? They're trying to hide something, but you know they took a cookie. He's kind of being like that happy, but it was wicked. And he said, call me Moon. I said, Moon, come play with my friends. He's so excited. And I knew something weird was going on in there. And there was wind and energy. And I like peeked in the door. I was scared, man. I peeked in the door and something was wrong in there. And it was like, there was something happening. I don't know the language to describe it, but like.
And how old would he be at this point in time?
By the record, he would be 7 or 8. But he was
7 or 8.
2-year-old, like a baby that just learned how to walk. Like, so later I would wonder and doubt myself, is he one of his grandfather's lab experiments? You know, because I go, is he human? I asked my aunt, she's like, I don't know. Those Illuminati. Okay, he opened up something, a portal, a Stargate, whatever, but he was excited and he was jumping up and down.
So he was able to open up a Stargate in his room.
Whatever you want to call it. It was a different dimension.
Yeah, a portal. Well, portal would be the actual name.
And I've been so embarrassed to say it out loud that everybody would laugh at me or lock me up. You know, I only told my aunt this. I've never told a counselor this.
No, people would think you're crazy. It's only now that we're really learning about this. And, you know, Jesse has actually done decodes on how to, you know, who's in charge of the portals and stuff like that. But there's also methods on how to open them that she has shared.
When I talk about it, I get kind of defensive and I get like, oh.
No. You've got a friendly audience here today.
Okay. And I've never discussed this with anybody in a grown-up conversation. I mean, I've told people that were like, enough. I don't want to hear it anymore.
Well, I want to hear it because God's going to get the glory at the end of the day here. So
God is so good.
So tell me what happened. Something's not right. Something's scary in that room. Describe what you see and what happens.
I went to the edge of the doorway and I peeked in there and I was afraid just to peek. And there was something happening in there, like a sci-fi movie. And there was something, he set him up like a little Stonehenge on his bed. And he was tiny, like I told you, so tiny. And he was jumping up and down and he was saying, Moon, come play with my friends. Okay. That right there says he knew exactly what he was doing. It wasn't like he accidentally opened a portal and didn't know what he had friends. So I peeked in there and I was so scared. I'm embarrassed to tell this. It's so ridiculously weird. And he was being lifted and he was starting to go. He was being lifted and like he was being lifted and he's being sucked in. I know this sounds ridiculous, but my aunt told me don't let nothing happen to that effing little kid. And normally I would never let anything happen to a child that was watching. I would run between them and a pit bull. And I said, but the way she said it, I said, why? And she goes, he's going to rule the world someday. And I'm like, what? Him? What do you mean? Why? And she said, don't you know nothing? They're the Illuminati. She would always do that to me. But she'd say, don't let nothing happen to him. He's going to rule the world someday. And I was like, that kid? You know, so I grabbed his little arm and I got sucked in. I got sucked into, it's like we went up and then we went down. And it was dark in there, but it was glowing. And I can only tell you that when I remember my peripheral vision because I was afraid to look at it because when you're a little kid and you look at the cartoons and there's a bad boogeyman in the Scooby-Doo and you see its glowing eyes, it's like, don't look at its eyes, he'll get you. And I remember that whole, oh, if you don't look at their eyes, they can't get you. And I was being sucked in and sucked down and I had his little arm. And it was weird because like there was no bottom. And there were these creatures in there. And they were giant and they were semi-shaped like humans. They were glorious. They weren't like Smeagol's or any creepy little demon dudes. They were like beautiful, ancient creatures that moved in a different time. And they were giant. And like they had a different head. Like there was a bird head and like a cat head and a jackal head. And I would compare them because I'm not super educated to like Egyptian type of things. To the types of things May had, you know, little artifacts of. I'm not from that region, but
Well, this also describes angels and devils in the book of Revelation. You know, with multiple heads, different animals pointing different ways. You know,
yeah, the angels have many faces.
Look at the guards of the gates of the Garden of Eden, right?
Yeah.
Even alone, like that's what sounds like what you're describing.
And they were beautiful but terrifying. They weren't on my side. I'm on Team Jesus. And but I was told not to say that name over there. And
well, of course not, because they would flee.
My aunt told me never say that name over there. They don't want to hear Jack Black about your Jesus. And I said, because I remember when I got saved, I wanted to go save everybody. And she's like, don't you say that name over there. She said,
okay, well, let's finish the story and then I want to go to your conversion and how you got saved.
Okay. So we're coming down in there. One of them grabbed me by the throat. And I closed my eyes and I had him. And I was tiny, like a little rag doll compared to it. And it was holding me up like that. And I cried out. I felt like I couldn't talk. And I cried out, Jesus, save me. And it stopped and we flew back. And we flew out of there. And I still had him at his little arm. And we flew back and we rolled out of his room and out of the hallway and into the living room. And I like, if you've ever fallen off a merry-go-round and you woo, and you like stop yourself, you know. And I stopped and we like grabbed the ground. And I was like, I just felt dizzy. And I looked up at him and he looked up at me and we're like on the ground, like we're looking at a bug. And he looked up at me and he goes, Moon, why are you not like my friends? And I was looking at him like, what the hell do I say? Excuse me. I was like,
but that's probably appropriate considering what you saw.
My friends. And I said, well, it's scary in your room, Elon. It's dark. Well, they started calling him Elon later. They switched his name. And I remember the difference. So he tried to feed me to his friends and he knew exactly what he was doing because he called me to come play with his friends. Those things and that. And I said Revelation 10, but I think it's Revelation 9. But I think maybe he's the demon from the Apollo from Revelation 10. I think maybe he's a clone.
Well, we don't know. We don't know. But eventually things will be made clear on that.
Yes, I don't want to bring a railing accusation.
There's no doubt that he has an important part to play in what is happening in history right now. I personally think he's just more on the technology side, to be honest.
Okay.
That's just my thought. I don't know. And I want to be clear. I don't know. But
right, I don't want to just make accusations either.
He's very brilliant on the technology side, and you know, who knows? Maybe he'll be the inventor of the mark, right?
That's another thing. Can I share that? I was told about him.
Sure.
Okay, after he did that, opening the portal thing, I didn't tell what he did. And then I asked one of my the head mother of the Santeria, and I think she's the head mother of those people at our southern borders, they're calling them in. Okay, they paid for this a long time ago, but I said, is he the Antichrist? And she didn't blink. She said, no, but he will present the mark. And when you see him do that, the stage will be set.
She said that?
She said that. The stage will be set for the Antichrist to step forward. So August 28th, 2020, Elon Musk presented the Neuralink.
Mhm.
Now, is the mark of the beast the image of the beast to be worshipped? Are they the same thing? And if that was true, would that make him the false prophet? And and if that was true, wouldn't that be a trick of the devil to give us a false prophet who's an atheist, rock star, supermodel, girlfriends drive sports cars and tunnels around rocket ships? Boy, that's one tricky false prophet.
There's lots of theories, and people, because of his stature in the world, people are going to be thinking a lot of different things about him. But the fact is we don't know at this point. God has not revealed anything conclusively to us.